famous saying that goes, the man who does not know his rights doesn't have any. Does that make sense? You don't know your rights, especially in taxation. You don't have any taxation rights. Good luck to you, sir. Be well and filled with your fear and keep on donating money that you don't owe. And by the way, I want to knock on your door. I'm going to tell you, you owe me, I don't know, 500 a month and see if you pay me. Maybe I'll get a scary jumpsuit and just scare you. You owe me. Like, I don't think you're paying me. Well, that's what they did to us from birth. We've just learned this fear. It's been instilled without knowing. There's a difference between lawful and legal, and I would much rather be on the lawful side than the legal side. We're going to explain that. And there's the question in it. What is the law? Is it the IRS codes? Is it even a stop sign? Is that a law? Well, it might be. And that's what we're going to talk about. Is a federal income tax lawful or legal? That's what we're going to unravel and make sense out of this. Hopefully, it'll make perfect sense. And you can finally shed a little bit of fear. You'll be a little bit more down the road of confidence. You're on solid ground. So, did you know that this is the law that we're talking about? It's called the Bill of Rights. It's called the Constitution. You see, when I heard law, and I still hear law at times, I think our mind goes, law is something I can't do, right? Thou shalt not steal, right? Thou shalt not commit adultery. And those are God's laws, and those are spiritual principles, right? Well, when you set up a government, you see, God is the one that gave the rights. And then he gave it to man. And guess what? Man is over government. So it goes God, man, and then government. We are not subservient to government. So guess what happened? In the very beginning, the law is constitution, meaning what the government can't do to you. That's what we're looking at. This is what the government can do to you. It's not what you can't do. This is the law we're talking about, and it's very applicable about taxation. This is the Bill of Rights. Now, this is a question. I got everybody on mute right now. The first one that answers this gets a candy bar. If they can finish the rest of this sentence, okay? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among them are...
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Okay, what kind of candy bar you want?
I don't give it to somebody else. I don't eat candy.
Okay, good. I was hoping that was actually the right answer. So now you went, I don't know what I can give you now because that was the right answer. Okay, yes, among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay, this is the foundational principles. Okay, now, again, I just put this together in the last 24 hours, and this is going to look a lot different probably in a few weeks. I'm excited about keep adding to it like I've been able to in my other presentations over time. But I went to YouTube. I found a pretty cool 5-minute speech on this. I'm sure I'll probably find something better. But man, he did a good job. He didn't necessarily completely drill down on taxation, but it's very, very relevant to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I'm going to play a 5-minute segment here. He did a great job on explaining this, I thought. And, you know, again, this might change over time, but let's hear what he has to say. Oh, let me go back.
Hey there, students. Happy 4th of July to you. As soon as I'm finished with this sparkler, I'm going to hit my grill and I'm going to grill some steaks. I'm going to pursue happiness, which July 4th is all about pursuing happiness and celebrating the principles outlined in the Declaration of Independence, which some people have questions about. Okay, so when we think about Jefferson says life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, people ask me, why the pursuit of happiness? What does that mean? And why did Jefferson choose to modify what Locke said? Because life and liberty he does verbatim, and then he modifies Locke when he gets the pursuit of happiness. So let's think about this. Now, first of all, the Declaration of Independence is a manifesto of freedom. That the reason the colonists are declaring their independence is because they believe that they have not been awarded the freedom that was their right as British citizens. So they were going to go off on their own to try to gain more freedom. So I have the right, first of all, to life, the right to my person, the right to be safe. Then I have the right to liberty. I have the right to express myself. Really think about your First Amendment rights, your freedom of speech, petition, assembly, religion, and Rick Perry moment here. But there are 5 of them. It's a holiday, so just bear with me. And then there's the pursuit of happiness. Well, while liberty is about political freedom, press, that's the other one. All right, so political freedom is liberty, but then the pursuit of happiness is about economic freedom. It is about a system of free enterprise that the colonists felt like the British government was interfering with. The system of free enterprise that led to me getting this stake here. And this is all about economic freedom, which freedom is not complete without economic freedom. Some people think, okay, if I can express myself, if I can speak freely and have whatever religion I want, then I'm free. But then what about your right to work whatever job you want? What about your right when you're paid for doing that job to be able to spend that money as you would please? What about when you go into business to be free from undue regulatory burdens that'll keep you from doing business? And that's what this is about. It is about economic freedom, which complements the political freedom and establishes a truly free people. Keep in mind that most of these disputes with Britain, between the colonists and Britain, had been about economic freedom. You think of the Stamp Act, the Townshend Acts, the Sugar Act, the Tea Act. All of these things compromise the economic freedom of the colonists. And for anybody that thinks in terms of, okay, well, freedom is just about my freedom to express myself politically or religiously or something like that, Ronald Reagan said in his speech, A Time for Choosing, he said, the government cannot control the economy without controlling people. And when it sets out to do that, it must use force and coercion to achieve its aims. And that is what the British government was doing, that eventually you see a showdown between the British government and the colonists over this issue primarily of economic freedom. So I have a right as an American to do what I do, to teach, and then when I get paid for teaching, that the tax burden is fair and it's by my consent, and then I can go spend the money on what I want and go get this steak from somebody who grew the cows on a ranch or raised the cows or whatever you do with cows, and then a butcher pursued happiness by cutting up these steaks, and then I pursued happiness by buying them and eating them. And that is what being an American is all about, and celebrating these principles in the Declaration of Independence, not only about being safe as a person and being able to express myself politically and religiously, but also being able in general to do what I want. And that's what we're all doing today on July 4th, and what we should really do as much as possible every day. And what sets America apart is not only our freedom to express ourselves politically and religiously, but also our freedom to do as we please, to pursue happiness. That I may not always be happy, sometimes I might fail, but at least it's my failure, and it's not a failure because barriers have been erected against my happiness by government. So when it comes down to it, the Declaration of Independence, the principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it's all about freedom. And hopefully you're joining me in my celebration of freedom today and the principles of the Declaration of Independence. If you haven't subscribed already, do that. Visit my website, Twitter, Instagram, all of that good stuff. I'm going to grill these steaks, but I'll be back. Until next time.
Okay, how about that? Like he took the pursuit of happiness into the economic freedom. Awesome principle, and that is absolutely true. That's what spurred the Revolutionary War, is that taxation without representation. He should have went into that a little bit more, but it's all about the economic freedom, and it's right there in the law. And we don't understand these things. Okay, so that's why I'm here on this special new Thursday message to show you the law. It's right here. It's right here. These are your rights. Again, the law I used to think is something I can't do. But you see, because God gave us rights, God creates man, and man creates government, we are above. We are above the government, okay? As long as we're not violating God's laws, which are built into the laws you can't do, okay? Can't steal, can't do things like that. That's what truly our justice system is set up on. If you hurt others, then you're hurting their life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Okay, but as long as you're being peaceful, the government can't do certain things to you, and you're staring at it right now. 1789, it's called the Bill of Rights, is a revised constitution, which we're going to look at. Did you know you have rights? I'm sure you do, right? I mean, as soon as we look at this, these are the first 10 amendments. These are all enacted in 1789, and you better bet there is an as played today as they were back then. How about this? The First Amendment. Did you know you have the right of free speech? You could say, I hate Trump. I hate Biden. And oh boy, who cares? But anyway, they're not going to come arrest you. They might do that in China. They might do that in a Muslim state. You can't do that. We have a right for the Constitution is existing still. While it does, remain in those rights, right? And you have the right to free speech. How about this one? Everybody knows this, right? You can have a gun. You can have a gun. So far, they're going to try to manipulate that. They've been trying to. And it's no different than taxation. They try to take away these rights. Can't do it as long as that document's there. And as long as you, ma'am, you, sir, start knowing your rights, you can start enforcing them because they're there. All you have to do is go get them. Okay. And how about this one, the Fifth Amendment? Did you know you have the right to remain silent? I plead the Fifth, right? You have the right of a jury trial. Praise God. You have a right of a jury trial, right? Which is the Seventh Amendment, actually. The Sixth Amendment is the right to a speedy trial, and you have the right to counsel. So you don't have to figure out the laws yourself and defend yourself. You can have counsel. How about the Fourth Amendment? You have the right to not have an unlawful search and seizure. Hey, sir, can I search your car? No, you can't. I'm not letting you. I just for on principle alone, you can't do it. I'm enforcing my Fourth Amendment right. These rights exist. You know them, right? I mean, if we don't know this, then we might as well not go on with the rest of the presentation. Do you feel comfortable here? Sir, ma'am, you're afraid of taxation? Right here, do you see these? That's your rights. Well, I got news for you. In this same Constitution, the same body of law that protects you is this. Same one. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 4 says no capitation or other direct tax shall be laid on you unless it's in proportion to the census. Now, we explain this way more tomorrow and the next day, okay? And we explain it every day. It just know it's there and this still is in play. The IRS, even I've talked to enrolled agents. I've had great conversations with these people. This is their livelihood, though. It's all convoluted in their understanding. They admit it's a direct tax, and it admits it's a violation of the Constitution. But there's a reason why it's enforceable on you because you have converted what is unlawful into legal. That's the point of this message. That's the confusion. Well, what about the IRS? And what they say? Well, that's legal. You're talking legal. I'm talking lawful. Completely different issues. That's why we're here. Just know this. That's your rights. All you have to do is get them. Do you have the right to have a gun? Well, then enforce it. Do you have the right to remain silent if they're going to be called on you and you're going to incriminate yourself? Well, enforce it. It's your right. Well, here you go, guys. Right there. That's why we have so much success on the revocation election. They can't do anything. Let's say my daughter's 23 years old. I have another one, 19. They're never going to get a knock on the door from the IRS. Hey, you owe these taxes. A bill in the mail. You owe us a bill. And by the way, nobody gets a letter like that anyway from the IRS. If you haven't filed in years and you keep filing, you stopped, they don't get a letter like that because of this. They don't get a letter that says the first letter, you haven't filed in 4 years, okay, what, 5 years, whatever. For 2023, sir, you owe $222,065. Never get a letter like that. It doesn't begin that way because they can't do it. The reason why you signed over and over and over, April 15th, April 15th. Oh, by the way, guys, April 15th, 2026, you better sign your return because it's a signature they need from you. Because of this, this is your rights, okay? I can't overemphasize that. In fact, the rest of the meeting, I should just talk about this over and over again. Get it in your head. Get in your head. The IRS this. What about this? What about my tax guy? That's the law. Okay, now we're going to talk legal too, though. Okay, so you understand the difference. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. You cannot be taxed directly from the national government who is based in Washington, D.C. It didn't start that way. We talked about that yesterday. It didn't start that way. It was called the Continental Congress. It was just a meeting spot. They just met in different locations. They knew this. But when they carved their own land out, that's when things changed. Did you ever wonder in school? I did. I say this a lot. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little weird, I guess, but I always thought this. That is, I don't understand this. There's one, two, three, four, five. There's 50 states, and then there's Washington, D.C. Why is Washington, D.C. not a state like this? Ah, because of trickery. That's what they did. They formed a different jurisdiction. They did pass a law. We're not anti-tax. We're not definitely not anti-government. We just know it doesn't apply to most of us. And there is a law that they put in play, the 16th Amendment, but it only applies to that little tiny 10 square mile area. They could trick us though, if you can get you under legal instead of lawful. Okay, but it is unlawful for them to send you out a bill because you haven't signed a tax return. To just, especially if you've never signed one, they can't do that. That's completely treasonous, and so people would lose jobs over that. Okay, it's unlawful. So, lawful versus legal. When they created this little territory and they formed out a section of Virginia and a section of Maryland, the Virgin Mary, they carved out their own little land. By the way, the Vatican, did you know the Vatican is also a 10 square mile area? Any coincidence? 10 square mile area, their own little jurisdiction, their own little country. That's what we're facing with. I don't understand. Democrat, Republican, mega, mega. Who cares? It's 10 square mile area. It's its own little nation. We give it so much emotional energy. We don't understand our rights. We do not understand our republic. And we don't do anything about it. We just let them do what they're going to do. And the show carries on. Eat your popcorn, drink your sodas, and the show carries on. That's not our country. Okay. So in 1913, they carved not only they carved that out in 1790 was the land, but they passed the 16th Amendment that applies only right here. The IRS is inside of the box. That's their jurisdiction, 10 square mile area. We cover this in more detail. That's not the point of this message today. But just know this. What happens is they converted this into a legal thing. See, people have the argument, the IRS is illegal. No, it's not illegal. It's very legal. Very legal. Legal means contractual. If you have a legal dispute, guess what happens? Your business partner that you're in agreement with, maybe somebody didn't pay you on something and you got a contract. It's always about the contract. Makes sense? You go to court, it's about the contract. If you go to court about taxation, you better bet your bottom dollar that it's about a contract. Okay. That's why Wesley Snipes and I Googled some court cases and I go, oh my gosh, you haven't seen their videos, obviously. Because, by the way, I always say, look, great. What's the court case? Let's see. I got the pacer.gov, which shows every federal court case. What is it? What's their name? Okay, let me read. I'm going to show you there's a contract involved. It's a dispute over a year filed, and they signed a tax return. They actually put this in the indictment. It's all about this, the contract, because it's very legal. That's what we're talking about, legal versus lawful. Just trying to make sense out of this. So you go, okay, I get it. Ding, ding, ding. I understand. So here's the conundrum. Why did I choose this word conundrum? I don't know. The Holy Spirit gave it to me. Let me put the word conundrum. And here's what the definition means: a complex and difficult problem, a hard question, or a riddle that's tricky to solve. Wouldn't you say this is a riddle? We've been riddled, right? You talk laws, what are the IRS? And I'm like, how about this? Take that whole book and throw it in the trash. Because if it doesn't apply to you, you don't live there, it doesn't apply to you, then why are you reading it? And that, even when we had our live seminar last week, and I had the courage and I loved it because the attorney followed me. Okay, and there's a beauty of working together with an attorney that I found just the right person. However, there's a hard line there. She's legal, I'm lawful. Okay, big difference. And she doesn't get that. She doesn't care either because that's her job. She's not going to give up her job. That's the problem. So here you go. It's a riddle, tricky to solve. It's the kind of word you use when a problem just doesn't cut the mustard. It's an enigma. Maybe that's what I put there. Enigma. This is enigma. That sounds better, actually, huh? A mystery, a head scratcher. This is it right here. Let me explain this. Okay, this is the confusion right here. Is this one word? Ready? A license. A license. They were so smart, Washington, D.C. was. is to hand out licenses. We would like to give you a license. Why don't you study? They're going to study their codes. They're going to study their statutes. They're going to study what all that stuff says. And I used to be like, whoa, okay, I can't do my own taxes. I remember that. I'm going to go to the tax guy. Here you go. Here's my receipts. Here's my bank statements. And he just does his magic act. Line A plus line B equals line C. And then, like, spits it out. Bam. You owe money. I owe money. Of course I do. How much? Darn it. Just like a zombie over and over again. Then when I was forced to learn this, I'm like, that isn't even very hard. Line A plus line B equals C, and plus it doesn't even exist. But guess what? The CPA gets one of those. They get one. And so does the attorney. Congratulations, you get a license. But this is the point of explaining this, okay? This is how they got us on both levels. They get me explaining lawful, and they get them being legal. Is this word here, which we talk about all the time, jurisdiction. You see, the minute they try to challenge jurisdiction, they're not only undercutting the system, which they're going to lose their license pretty soon if they keep doing that. Hey, you know what? This whole thing you see that I've been studying, I've been teaching your own codes, that doesn't even exist. They lose their job. They don't lose. Nobody's going to come to pay them anymore, and they shouldn't. And then they're enlightened with truth, and they go, "Oh, that's a scam. Why are you going to help me sign that contract?" Exactly. I'm going to tell you the truth. By the way, I'm going to find another profession. How hard is that? It's an enigma. It's a conundrum. Make sense? Okay. And then you're going to have problems, right? You're going to lose that license. However, for me to tell you this, you can't give legal advice. Isn't that interesting? You can't give legal advice. You're going to get in trouble. Give legal advice. You can't do that. I should have a disclaimer. That's why I kind of went, sometimes I'm not going to get some of the videos have it, like, okay, this is my own personal experience. This is educational purposes, blah, 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 blah. But I'm just telling you the law. Like, this is the law. It doesn't exist. Well, I'll get in trouble then for giving that legal advice. Do you see the enigma? Now, how do you think how confused are people when they come there? I looked at some court cases. Yeah, it's about a contract. You're talking legal, right? Let me tell you lawfully. It's impossible to take you to court to begin with because they can't do it. And by the way, they can't do it. Okay, they would never. There's no courts. Have you ever defended an association? No, because they'll never go to court. It doesn't exist. And I'd be as worried about Washington, D.C. taking me to court or the association court as the country of Mexico to come in and go, hey, the Mexican government's taking you to court. Like, that's weird. I don't live in Mexico. Does it look like I'm Mexican? My name isn't Jose, and I don't live there in Mexico City. The same thing. Exactly the same thing. Okay. Now, jurisdiction, let's make this even clearer if I haven't tried to make it clear enough. It's called this. It's the territory or sphere of activity over which the legal authority of a court or other institution extends. Here's a good example. We all drive cars, right? Hopefully. And you're in an automobile. And guess what you do? These are all jurisdictions, 50 different jurisdictions, 50 different nations, and then a 51st as well that we're talking about. You cross the border and you're in New Mexico and you cross into Texas. Woo, woo, woo. By the way, I got pulled over. This is a great example. I got pulled over a few days ago in Iowa. I'm in a different. I should probably use this example. In Iowa, it was only $89 ticket. Thankfully, it wasn't California where they're like 400 or some. I don't know. I know how to handle it, and with Julie's help a little bit. I don't even care about it. It doesn't matter. But anyway, the point is, I can't tell them that I want them to see. I live in California. You know what, guys? You got to come here in California. I have to travel all the way to Iowa. I even asked the guy, "Is there a virtual hearing or something?" Because I'm in a different jurisdiction. I got pulled over in their jurisdiction under their laws. Okay, whatever it was, I don't know. So you're going 74 and a 55. Really? I live in California where we all drive 80 miles an hour. I even told them that. I didn't pay attention. But guess what? I fell into their jurisdiction. This is what jurisdiction is. Get it? Now, you're an attorney. We had a trial attorney show up last week. I'm really blessed, and I'm honored that attorneys and CPAs are my customer. I'm enlightening them because they got to get out of that box. This guy he gave a great testimony. By the way, I still have to share that highlight video. He gave a good testimony. His name's Alan. He doesn't show his name on there when he's speaking, but he's a trial attorney. I remember when we had this talk on amongst the group, he chimed in right away. I understand jurisdiction. Exactly. Attorneys know that. You throw a whole case out because of jurisdiction. Okay. So the reason why I'm elaborating on this is your jurisdiction as it relates to taxation. There's the IRS in that box, and there you are. Okay. And in the same way, New Mexico has no jurisdiction over this Texas case of speeding that the car went over the line into Texas. In the same way, Washington, D.C. has no jurisdiction over you if you're not under their, what does it say? Territory or sphere of activity or which the legal authority of a court or other institution extends. Theirs is 10 square mile area. Do you live in Washington, D.C.? Do you work for the federal government? Because that's what it's called, a federal income tax. It's a tax on federal employees. Does that apply to you? Well, then there you go. You're just like a New Mexico resident that has, that crossed over into Texas, and you are under their legal authority for a different reason, not the law. Okay. So there's 50 different jurisdictions, and this is a separate one. This is why they're not one of the states like us. Okay. Because of this, there's two United Stateses, and this is the tricky thing they did as well. They defined the United States a little bit different in their trick book, their little book that applies only their 10 square mile area. There is the United States, all lowercase, America, capital A, and then there's the all capital letter United States. Tricky, huh? Sounds hard to understand, huh? There's the constitutional republic, which we have rights. I showed you your rights, right? You believe that, right? And in that rights are taxation. They just got out of taxation when they passed this. They're not going to put and lord over the states. They would never get that passed. They would never get that agreed upon. Okay. This is your rights. They still exist today. And this is a legal fiction by which you contract and you make it legal. Were unlawful at first when you're born and when you get your first job. They became legal the day you signed that first contract at age 16 because you're just getting a refund. The money they took out of your check. It becomes legal. It's a legal fiction. So how does a person enter the jurisdiction? By election. That's what they call it. What is election? It's not a fancy word. You know what's called voluntary. When you go to you elect somebody for an office, you get a vote. You make a choice. That's what they call this. And they can't scam you the rest of your life. And that is why the revocation of election is their own hidden secret that people aren't supposed to know. You just notify them and you say, I'm electing, this is actually the legal terminology for it. I'm electing to not have my income to be a trade or business within the United States. Now, right there, a legal guy go, see, you live in the United States. No, that's not that's not how they define. First of all, trade or business means a political office. You don't have one, right? And within the United States is within 10 square mile area, Washington, D.C. That doesn't apply to me, but they have to hear from you because guess what? You're in a contractual relationship that's very legal, and you have to simply opt out of the contract. No different than turning your automobile in when the lease ends. If you keep driving it, well, the lease ends, the contract ended, and you have to notify them, hey, I'm going to extend it, I'm going to break it. It's contract. That's what it is. And that's what you do with the revocation of election. This contract here is what this is all about, not the law, meaning the Constitution that protects you. You fell into their jurisdiction legally, legal and lawful. Hopefully that makes sense. That's the end of my Thursday presentation.